Peter Jackson is not only shooting these films and will display them in 2D, he's shooting them in 3D, not converting to 3D, he's shooting them in 3D and making them at 48 frames per second, which is pushing the edge of technology. So not only does he have a huge production to deal with, he has brand new, cool technology that will deliver the best possible picture. That's pretty cool, too. And of course, our friend Guillermo del Toro joined Peter's writing team of Fran and Philippa, and they worked on that script and had plenty of time to massage it, and we get it just perfect. And then we know the process from watching DVD extras that they probably massage it every day since. And our friend Howard Shore returns for the score. He, of course, has been chomping at the bit for years, just as we have all been waiting. He's also been waiting, like, cannot wait to dig into the Hobbit score. So that's great news. And then, very importantly, Weta Workshop and Richard Taylor and his team. And?
Please go right ahead.
54 days of the shoot have been completed. If you watched Peter Jackson's Facebook page, if you haven't watched Peter Jackson's Facebook page, as soon as you leave here, run to the internet and do that. But it was explained there that 54 days of the shoot are done, and they're on a break, which is, we'll put that in quotation marks. They're on a break, and there's 200 days of the shoot left. So that's quite a lot.
This is the official Facebook presence for The Hobbit films. You can find it directly through the URL thehobbitblog.com, and of course everyone's favorite vortex, the book face. You can go /The Hobbit movie, and you are there. It's an extraordinary first-person account. The blogs are going to be coming fresh and fine from our friends on the inside, and additionally we have Peter's official Facebook presence, that Peter Jackson NZ, where just last night, you may or may not have noticed, he presented an amazing 16-minute behind-the-scenes video. Oh, and look, here's our cast. We're starting with, of course, Martin Freeman. Yes. When I watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a few years ago, I love, like, Mos Def and Martin Freeman play off of each other very well. It's very funny. And I never would have thought, but here he is, and I think it's amazing. It's wonderful.
Our friend Ian, I keep saying our friend. I guess we do really feel like a family. Ian Holm is also returning to play Bilbo Baggins at a slightly different stage. How many of you knew that already? Just by raise of hand. I'm trying to figure out what the audience knows and doesn't know. A lot of you didn't know that.
That Bilbo would return as that older Bilbo. Yes. You know what I mean.
So raise your, I'm very interested in the next bit of information. Raise your hand if you didn't know this. Did everyone know that Elijah Wood will be returning to, everyone knows that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have an informed audience. So, it's clear. Do we talk about why he's in the film for a minute, or everyone knows that too, right? I see lots of head shaking.
Well, if any of you guys have seen the beautiful extended editions, which just came out on Blu-ray not too long ago, you guys know how perhaps Bilbo and Frodo have a conversation together about the past, the shared past, which unfortunately becomes the ring as the focus of the trilogy. But yeah, it's quite obvious, I think, if you guys know which scene I'm talking about. Yes? Raise your hands. There's a beautiful volume of history. It's called The Red Book. It became known as The Red Book of Westmarch. And Bilbo is writing his histories and his journeys, and of course he passes the book on to Frodo, and Frodo passes it on to wonderful Sam at the end.
Suffice it to say, it will be a completely appropriate way to have Frodo in the story without, he obviously wouldn't be alive at the time of The Hobbit, but he would be alive later in time to read The Hobbit. So, we have incredibly detailed and character-driven images of the dwarves that have been released in the last 2 weeks. And we think you've all seen those, and they've been online, so we're going to breeze through them. But a general comment, I love how each of the dwarves is a character. One of the great challenges of this film is that there's 13 dwarves, and each needs to be distinct, not only in how they act and what they say, but the second we all see them on screen, we need to know who it is we're seeing. We can't, catalog our mind and try to figure that out. So each of these guys is really distinct and beautifully done, and that's really a tip of the cap to the folks at Weta. Their design team really home run for me.
I agree. I think maybe it's safe to say Professor Tolkien also encountered the same problem to help his audience distinguish between the different dwarves and their personalities. And in the first set of related fellows, we have Nori, played by Jed Brophy, and you may remember Jed Brophy as the warg rider in The Two Towers who sends Viggo Mortensen to an unfortunate early demise. Yes, there's at least one in every Peter Jackson film, an early demise. Then we have Ori as Adam Brown. He seems to be the scholarly dwarf who has a book under his arm. And then there's Dory, Mr. Mark Hadlow. He has a great sense of humor, I can tell already.
Did all of you follow these images as they hit the interwebs in the last 2 weeks? Pretty cool, right? All right. So go ahead, Cliff. Great.
That's Owen and Glowing present an automatic chronological connection to Gimli, son of Glowing.
So that's Gimli's father, and you'll notice the resemblance is quite distinct. You can easily watch the film and say, oh yeah, that's Gimli's dad. So it's an excellent design tie-in to show a real relationship of two characters in two different movies.
I always loved it when Gandalf was so formal with Gimli and said, Gimli, son of Glowing. He did it all the time. I loved it. I always loved that. And now our next set, the hot dwarves. Ladies, stand up, ladies. Feely and Keely. Dino Gorman and Aidan Turner, who is obviously too young to have had his beard grow out fully. Although it has been speculated by some of our fans on the message boards that he shaved his beard in an act of defiance because he had a youthful temper tantrum and, but it may be growing back. We don't know. Yes.
My favorite.
My favorite, too. Oh, Bombur.
Who doesn't want a giant hair necklace, really? If I could grow one, I would. James Nesbitt plays Beaufort, and referring back to videos on Peter Jackson's Facebook, I love this guy. He's just fantastic. He's a Scot, and he's fun. Great fun.
And, of course, Irish, correction on the national origins.
I'm embarrassed on the internet.
Bifur.
I apologize.
And we must not forget Bifur.
Has everybody zoomed in on that picture?
William Kircher, who has what's left of an axe in his forehead.
I don't think it's an axe.
Oh.
I think he had a mining accident. I'm not joking. I think it might be an industrial mining accident, and part of the reason, Weta's over there laughing, I'm sure. But
can we get some answers from Weta? Is it possible, or would that upset the narrative in any way? I mean, is it an axe or a hammer or something?
They will never say.
All right, never mind. And how many non-disclosure agreements did you sign this morning before coming here? Yes, of course. Yes.
Weta are great friends of ours, really friendly and super. And I've never met anyone who they won't even say the word Hobbit in our presence. I kid you not. They're very friendly always and so great, and they never talk anything about the films. We do have other sources, of course, but it certainly isn't them.
My favorite, Balin or Balin. Is there a disagreement among conventional wisdom that it's Balin or Balin? Because we heard what Ian McKellen said in Fellowship. Suvi? Mm-hmm.
That's right. Film continuity would go Balin.
And in 1979, when Rankin Bass animated The Hobbit, it was Balin and Dwalin. I'll never forget John Hurt's voice as Gandalf. So,
of course, here's another tie to the Lord of the Rings films. Everyone remembers Balin's tomb. And perhaps when we go and watch those films again, which we certainly will, after these films, that whole scene may take on added depth. We may shed tears along with Gimli.
We may. Professor Tolkien went to certain lengths so that we all understood that Bilbo and Balin had a very good friendship, and they respected each other, and perhaps it was this kind of bonding and healing that allowed the dwarves and the dwarven kingdoms to, build better relatedness with the hobbits and the Shire. But that's long. Of course, a fan would think in those terms. I'm sorry.
Has everybody seen Pulp Fiction, by raise of hands? Well, if you recall, Samuel L. Jackson's character has a wallet, which I can't say it on stage, but it has something inscribed on the wallet. That's what I think Dwalin has inscribed on his sword or his axe. This guy is a bad dude, man. I love this character design. So the all family crowd, it says bad dude on his bad dude.
Bad dude.
So here's our really cool hero shot. You ready, Cliff? This is you.
Thorin Oakenshield, as presented by Richard Armitage.
We at the
No.
Let's talk about Klingon for a minute, because
okay.
I must disagree. I've read that on a message board or two, and keep in mind this is one photo of the guy, and we have seen other photos and him in action. There's no Klingon in this design, in my opinion. Maybe in this shot. But he does certainly look fierce.
There's a lot of eyeliner missing. There's a lot of ridged applications of latex makeup missing. I don't see the Klingon thing at all. I immediately saw a Viggo Mortensen Aragorn type of vibe, but that's what I first thought when I saw it.
There is a really incredibly detailed, just what we've come to expect from Weta on the sword, however. It says on the sword, Orcrist. That's pretty cool.
Indeed it does.
And
it mirrors the elvish design of Sting, as both of those blades were forged in Gondolin in the ancient prehistory of Middle-earth that Tolkien talks about in the Silmarillion. And, of course, the designers allowed us to understand this relationship, perhaps giving the suggestion that they were forged by the very same elven smith.
And that's cool.
That's super continuity.
So, a very talented...
They all are.
Let's be very clear. This is not an official image. Warner Brothers is in the audience with us, by the way. They're very gracious and let us be included. It's certainly their property, but they also recognize that it's our passion. So they're happy to share that with us. This is a photoshopped image that a fan sent in of the Fellowship, and he added Bilbo and Gandalf as well. Rumor has it, can I say this rumor out loud? Very soon on the internet, perhaps as soon as the end of this panel or soon after, an official image will hit the interwebs, and perhaps on the onering.net first, maybe. That's just a rumor.
So what we have all together with all of these images being released, we have a really, really strong flavor of the storytelling that is yet to come, just from the armor, the weaponry, and the makeup. And these design elements speak volumes about, well, some of the really good bits we can anticipate. And we're going to do our best to guide you through some of this right now.
I do recall a couple of summers ago when Guillermo del Toro was still involved in the production, he used to hang out on the wondering.net message boards, and he stopped in occasionally to say, hey, he promised there that every dwarf would be distinct and clear to the viewer. And I remember thinking, how in the world would that be accomplished? And now we know exactly how that was accomplished. And I would say, this is turning into a Weta commercial, but this is an incredible win for the production. This is just a home run. Now, maybe you don't like a certain dwarf or a certain hairstyle. I happen to be kind of sold, and they're even the ones I was less sure about are growing on me. I'm honestly slightly skeptical about the beardless dwarf, but I'm very willing to give it a chance. But taken as a whole, this is an incredible home run for the design team. It's just incredible. Yeah, it would be very appropriate to applaud.
Well done.